Can you hunt with an AR-15? What's the best budget rifle under $600? Do you need to re-zero after you switch ammo brands? These are just some of the questions hunters are asking right now, and we've got the answers. So buckle up. Hi everybody, welcome to another thrilling episode of the LocaCarnivore. Glad you could join us. And this is where we cut through hype and get to field-tested truth. Today we're tackling the top 10 hunting gun questions from across the internet and from our own viewers. Whether you're just getting ready for deer season or gun season, or you just want to refine your current setup, this episode's packed with practical answers, gear tips, and insights. So let's get into it. Now make sure you stay with us all the way through the end of the video because we have got fantastic questions that you folks asked or are asking on the internet, and we've got some great answers I know you're going to want to see. So make sure you stay with us all the way through. Question number one is, what's the best cartridge or caliber for hunting whitetails? Well, that's actually a pretty broad subject, and I'm sure all of you out there that hunt whitetails, you've got your own opinions, you've got your own pet cartridges, but let's just run down a couple of the basics, the ones that do the job no matter what. First and foremost, I would say the 308 Winchester. It's a fantastic cartridge. Not only is it suitable for whitetail, but if you happen to go west and are hunting muleys or even elk, it'll do the job. This working man's cartridge, as I call it, this unsung hero, just gets things done without a lot of fuss and a lot of bother. And one of its biggest attributes is it's not going to wear out your barrel. It is very underbore, what's known as underbore. And that means it's not going to erode the throat of your barrel very fast at all. So you can expect 10,000, 20,000 rounds from a hunting gun in 308, which is great if you just want one gun. And by the way, I did a video not too long ago on the top 5 cartridges for the one gun hunter. I'll put the link down in the description. You can go check that out. I think you'll find that really interesting. But I can't say enough about the 308, one of my favorites. Then of course there's the 30-30. The 30-30 has probably dropped more whitetails for more years than any other cartridge on the planet. This holdover from the 19th century, I mean, it debuted in the 1800s, the late 1880s, I think, roughly. If you've got the right date, just go down in the comments there and give me the right date, would you? And this thing, when it's housed in a handy lever action carbine, fantastic gun. They're light, they're handy, these guns point extremely well, and they have been ruling whitetails in the brush ever since they came out, and over almost a century and a half now, basically. So quite the cartridge at the 30-30. Another favorite, the old standby 30-06. Now, some people think the 30-06 has kind of outlived its usefulness. In fact, I did another video about, is it time to retire the 30-06? Links down in the description, go check that one out. But the 30-06, fantastic cartridge. It will give you usually about 100 yards more reach than the 308, but you're going to pay for it with extra recoil. So you got to kind of balance that out. But on the plus side, the 30-06 rifles chambered in this thing number in the probably tens, if not hundreds of millions out there. So there is not going away. And if you've got a 30-06, consider yourself well armed for whitetail. Now another good cartridge, which is newer than the ones I've just mentioned, would be the 6.5 Creedmoor. And yeah, I've cast a lot of shade about the 6.5 Creedmoor, trust me. Did a video even about the 10 reasons as if you needed more to hate the 6.5 Creedmoor, link in the description. Go check that out if you want if you want to really get irritated if you're a 6.5 Creedmoor fan. But this cartridge, it comes into its own on whitetails. It's one of the best things that this cartridge does. And it does it out there with a little more reach. So if you're like, you know, in the Midwest or the high plains or something like that, you need that little more reach, but you don't want a lot of fuss and bother. You don't want a lot of recoil and just a lot of pain to your shoulder when you shoot. But you want to nail those whitetails out at the 400, 500, even 500 yard mark. That Creedmoor is going to get the job done, and it's super accurate. Now, one of the stars that's really rising right now for whitetails and just hunting in general is the 7mm PRC. This thing is on fire. It is hot. Now, the 6.5 PRC is also a great round, but the 7mm PRC, having just come out a few years ago, it is really taking the world by storm. So that's one, if you're looking for a newer cartridge and one that's designed for more precise shooting, maybe it's somewhat longer ranges, and you want it to be versatile enough to hunt, pronghorn, moose, elk, black bear, anything like that, that 7 PRC is something you should probably check out. So another good cartridge. Bottom line for whitetails, in my opinion, anything that makes at least 2,000 foot-pounds at the muzzle of energy and at the range that you intend to hunt at that point of impact can deliver at least 1,200 to maybe as low as 1,000. I get a little fussy on that 1,000 foot-pounds, but 1,000 foot-pounds to 1,200 foot-pounds at point of impact at the range you intend to hunt. Any cartridge like that shoots well in your rifle, yeah, go for it. It's going to drop a whitetail. Question number 2. Can I hunt with an AR-15 in my state? Well, that's going to depend a lot on what state you're in, and this is a very good question because the AR-15, the AR platform in general, truly is America's rifle. It outsells every other type of rifle, probably by about 3 to 1, give or take nowadays. It is in the hands of everybody out there. Everyone has one. So the big question is, can I use it for hunting? Well, the main thing is you're going to have to check your state hunting laws first, well, your state laws, because frankly, there are states that prohibit it, and that's mainly because they ban the ownership or the use of the AR-type platform, the AR-15 in particular. And some states simply will not allow you to use the 223 /5.56 by 45 NATO cartridge for hunting any big game. Colorado is one. It just doesn't meet their energy, or it used to not meet their energy requirements, their muzzle energy requirements. And that gets us into the thing of, is the 223 a good deer cartridge? And that's a whole different video. I could do a whole video on that. I'm not going to do that right now. Bottom line though, in my opinion, 223, yes, it can be used, but I don't think you should be using it for big game. Maybe whitetails inside 100 yards with pinpoint precision, and use the heavier weight bullets, 70 grain in that range, whatever. And you're going to need a fast twist barrel for that, so make sure you got your setup all right. But if you're a really good shot and you keep those shots within 100 yards or less and use the right kind of bullet, yeah, I'll grudgingly say you can use the 223. Now, like I said, for legality purposes, and this is not legal advice, of course, but you need to look at your own state laws and contact whoever you need to do in your law enforcement community or the game warden, whatever it is, and find out if you can use it. Now, the other issue you might run into if you can legally hunt with the AR-15 is you got to pay attention to the little fine print. A lot of states have magazine capacity when it comes to hunting guns, magazine capacity limits, so you need to understand what that is. Fortunately, ARs now can be had. You can get magazines, aftermarket magazines that hold as few as 5 rounds or even 10 rounds, right in that range. Most of the time that'll fit, or you might be in a state, say, off the top of my head, Montana has no restrictions on magazine capacity, so you could go out with a 100-round drum if you wanted to. It's silly, I know, but then nobody's going to stop you if you want to do it. So basically, you need to understand all the ins and outs of your local hunting laws. So just go check out that and make sure you're in compliance. Question number 3, is lead ammunition still legal where I hunt? Well, that again, just refer to question 3 about the ARs. It's going to depend on your particular location. So you need to check your game laws. Right now, California is the only one with a hard ban on lead of any type. But other states are considering going in there. Now, if there's another state that has banned it, let us know in the comments. Let's catch up, make sure we're all current here. But as far as I'm aware, the last information I had was California is the one with a hard ban. Now, what does that mean if you live there or if you're in a state that's considering this? Basically, if you're using centerfire ammunition, you're going to have to go to a non-lead bullet, probably a solid copper of some sort, like Barnes or Nosler, Hornady. Everybody's coming out now with very good, viable copper bullets or non-lead bullets. So you're just going to have to switch to those. And they're very good. If you use the right bullet at the right application and everything, they work very well. A lot of people have a lot of faith in these bullets. So you're just going to have to make the jump and get on with it. Or move, I guess. So, at any rate, and as far as like if you're hunting, birds and stuff, federal waterfowl rules, I think if you're hunting waterfowl per federal regulations, you can't use lead ammo. So you got to go with steel or bismuth shot or something like that. And that has come of age, and the loads are really good. Make sure your shotgun that you're using is rated for using steel. Older guns, say maybe for the 90s, roughly the 1990s, might not be capable of handling steel shot because it stresses the barrel more than a lead shot does. So you might want to check into that. If you have any doubts, call the manufacturer of the gun you have. You can give them the serial number, and their customer service people, I'm sure, will be happy to tell you yes or no for steel or non-lead shot. All right, let's do question number 4. But before we do that, I need to ask you to give us a big like, a thumbs up on this video. That helps the channel. I can't tell you how much it helps us. And we want you on the LocaCarnivore team, so please subscribe. And while you're subscribing, don't forget to hit that notification bell so you won't miss any of our great videos in the future. All right, let's roll right into question number 4, which is, what's the best optic for in the timber or thick woods versus open country? And this is a terrific question. Everybody's usually talking about which cartridge is best. And actually, I did a video not too long ago about the best elk cartridge for in the timber versus open country. Links in the description. Go out and check that out if you're interested. But let's talk about the optics. Basically, for really close work, if you're inside 100 yards, like shooting out of that tree stand or whatever, and it's going to be a really short shot, I like a red dot, frankly, or open sights. I mean, open sights, they don't wear out, they don't have a battery go dead, they don't get broken easily. There's just a lot to be said for a good pair of iron sights. But if your eyes are getting a little fussy, or you need some better vision in low light as far as seeing your sights and whatnot, just going with a standard red dot with no magnification is a superb way to do it, and that's really rugged. Now, one alternative that I like a little better than a red dot to a certain degree, although it is heavier and takes up more real estate on the top of the gun, is what's known as the LPVO, the low power variable optic. And this, of course, is the darling of the tactical world anymore, and everybody who's anybody is running an LPVO. They have a couple of distinct advantages. First of all, you get some magnification. So if you're shooting, yeah, you might be in thick cover, but if you're having to potentially shoot beyond 50 or 100 yards, that LPVO allows you to dial in some magnification so you can get a better idea of what you're shooting at, and good for target identification and helps you on shot placement. And the other thing is they've got a lighted reticle, an illuminated reticle. But a superior thing to a standard red dot, they also usually have the reticle etched in to the glass. So if the electronics fail and the illumination dies, you're still in luck because you now have a standard type scope that you can work with a etched reticle. Just, the black crosshairs with a little circle with the pipper in the middle or whatever it's designed as. All the different companies have different ways of doing it. Just find one that you like and go with it. But the downside, again, it's going to add some weight. They usually weigh about a pound. The first focal plane ones which are out there, and they're pretty fancy now. Those are really heavy. Those are in the 20 to 25 ounce range now. They weigh as much as a standard first focal plane scope, even though they don't give you a lot of magnification, maybe 8 power, 10 at the upside. So if you don't need a lot of magnification, like I said, the LPVO is a really good way to go. And it gives you the opportunity to dial it down to 1 power, so it's 1-to-1, and it works just like a red dot. Now for open country, you're going to need some magnification. Frankly, I've become a big convert to first focal plane scopes. I hunted almost my entire life with second focal plane scopes where the reticle stays the same size no matter what the magnification is. But now that I've gotten a first focal plane scope and hunted with it for the last 2 seasons, I'm really impressed with its abilities. And I like the fact that when I dial up the magnification, the scale of the reticle increases as well. And that way all the subtensions are equal no matter what magnification I'm on. Normally with a second focal plane scope, when you turn the you have to turn the scope all the way to its maximum power, maximum magnification, in order to accurately use the subtensions, i.e. the distances on the little hash marks and stuff in your reticle. First focal plane, you don't have to. You don't have to worry about that. Any magnification you're on will be the same no matter what. Now, I like the fact that you can dial it way down. My current scope is a 3-to-18 and power, and I like the fact on 3 power I can use that to kind of orient myself, find the critter, get everything framed up, get a good idea of the situation, and then I can dial in as much magnification as I need to make a precise shot. So it really is a versatile thing. Downside, first focal planes are really heavy. Do you need one? No, not really. Frankly, if you're shooting no more than, say, 300 yards, even 400, you can get away with the second focal plane scope, but you're going to need some magnification. Don't get too crazy on it, though. I like for inside 500 yards, you don't need more than 20 power. If you're going way beyond that, you might want to consider more magnification. And again, there's the issue of, do you want the dial-up rear turrets on, to dial up your windage and your elevation? That's going to be up to you. Adds cost, adds complexity, and adds weight to the scope. So you're going to have to balance that out. So I would say inside 400 yards, a second focal plane scope with about, at most, maybe 12 power magnification. Outside 400 yards, you're going to need a precision scope. Should have one with a first focal plane. You're going to want the turrets, all that bells and whistles, and you're just going to have to put up with the extra weight. Question number 5. Do I need to re-zero if I switch ammo brands? Or if I switch a load? Yep, you need to. You're going to have to go out to the range and at least double check that your zero is the same. Most rifles, once you change bullet weight or even just the bullet configuration, or the load is going to be different with a slightly different variation in velocity, different standard deviation of velocities, different spread of velocity, etc. It's going to factor into how it, how that barrel vibrates as the bullet goes down the length of it, and how that then shifts your point of impact. So you're just going to have to take it out to the range. One cartridge out there, though, if you don't want to put up with that, is the 375 Holland & Holland. It is renowned for shooting any bullet weight to generally the same point of impact once it's been zeroed. So you can take a 260 grain and then move to a 270 or move to a 300, and they generally will all shoot to within about an inch of the zero point that you dialed in on the original load. So that gives you an idea. If you need that, go with 375 Holland & Holland. Otherwise, yep, you're going to have to re-zero it, and just, but it's a good excuse to get out to the range, right? Question number 6. What's the best way to clean the rifle after it gets all wet, like in the rain or the snow or something like that? And another good question is, what's the best way to support LocaCarnivore? Well, other than the likes and stuff I asked for, we do have a Patreon. You can go over there and show us some love. You'll get some groovy stuff. All the details are on the Patreon, so give that a try. And if you're looking for deep dive content, stuff that we just don't have the time for on the videos, and you also want some of the great merchandise that we have, go to our website, LocaCarnivore.com, and check it out, and hit the little store tab up at the top. Now, how to clean this gun? Well, first of all, I'm not going to do a whole cleaning video. That's a whole new video by itself. Maybe at some point I'll do a cleaning video. There's a ton of them out there. Most of them are pretty good. Just get it from a reliable person, reliable source. And the other thing is, YouTube gets fussy if we start taking guns apart, so I don't want to irritate them. I'm not going to show you how to do it, but I'll walk you through it verbally real quick. Basically, just take the rifle apart as far as you possibly can. The best thing, though, you can do is to protect the rifle out in the environment. I like to put a little bit of electrical tape over the muzzle, and that keeps, that way when you're walking around with it on your shoulder or whatever, if there's rain or snow coming down, it keeps the vast majority, if not all, of that moisture out of the bore of the gun. And that's the really critical thing. Most everything else can be cleaned out pretty quick, even in the field without a cleaning kit. But the bore is going to need a cleaning kit and some special attention. So try to keep the water out of the bore. Try to keep the bolt area covered if you got a bolt action, whatever it is. If you got hunting with an AR, great thing, just keep that little dust shield closed on the bolt, over the bolt. That'll seal it up pretty darn well. So when I get back to home, or I get back to base camp, or whatever it is, unload the rifle, of course, put the ammo way far away, safety first. And then, of course, I just take the rifle down as far as I know how to do, or that I have tools available. Frankly, if you got a bolt action, it shouldn't be that bad for you. Just take a nice cloth, dry cloth, get all the water off the bolt, work yourself, work down into the receiver. Just look in the gun and see where it got wet and get all that out of there. Make sure you get the water off the barrel and all that stuff off the receiver and everything. And make sure that, check if anything dripped into the trigger group or something. You may have to break the rifle down a little further than that. Now be careful though, if your gun would need to be re-zeroed after you take the action out of the stock, you might want to avoid that if you're in the middle of a hunt, and then just save that for after the hunt is completely done, like after the season or whatever. Because it's not going to create a major problem, because most of these components already have some rust inhibiting on it. They're either nickel plated, or they're chrome plated, or they're phosphate finished or nitrided or something. And even if they are raw steel is actually pretty resistant to corrosion as long as you get the water off and get some oil onto it within a few days or something. Now, if you're in a super humid environment like Florida or something, you're probably going to want to take the whole thing apart, really get into it, and you might have to take it out and re-zero it, or at least check the zero didn't drift once you put it back in the drop the action back in the stock. Just saying. Same goes for you folks in Juneau, Alaska, and you know what I'm talking about. You get, what, 2 years out of a gun up there or something like that, I've heard people say. So it's just a matter of getting it clean, keeping the water out, and getting it out of the gun as quickly as possible, and then re-oiling it. You should be fine. Hey, before we get to question number 7, I got to ask you to do me a favor, and that is share this video. And not just this video, share the videos of all the gun and hunting creators that you watch on YouTube. The reason is, YouTube's playing their usual games. They're trying to get us off the platform as fast as they possibly can. And the one thing that keeps us around is proving to YouTube that we make YouTube a lot of money. And how do we do that? That's with you sharing the videos. So please do your part and help out all the people in the gun and hunting space. So what is question 7? Well, can I hunt with a suppressor? The answer is some places yes, some places no. As of the moment, 42 states in the union will allow you to use a suppressor when you're hunting. And that's a massive step forward. Now, what states at the moment will prohibit you or won't let you use a suppressor? Well, they're the usual suspects. Let's count them off. California, no surprise there. Delaware, no surprise. Hawaii, yeah. Illinois, yeah, good luck getting a suppressor there. Massachusetts, of course. New Jersey, of course. New York, no surprise there. And Rhode Island. What's wrong with you roadies? Why can't you get on with the rest of it? Everybody, and get on board with, just put that off to the side. Why can't you get on board with the rest of the world and just legalize suppressors? I mean, at least for hunting. They do so much good. Well, that's my PSA for Rhode Island, legalizing suppressors. Bottom line though, check your local laws, check your state laws, make sure you're in compliance, make sure you comply with all the federal laws because these things are federally regulated. But then go ahead, get yourself a suppressor, and as long as it's legal, knock yourself out and enjoy the hearing that you are going to preserve for the rest of your life. Alrighty, question number 8. What's the best budget-friendly bolt-action rifle under $600? Well, the good news is there are still a lot of rifles on the market that are very affordable, and they're under that $600. I'm not going to tell you, right, go buy this gun or go buy that gun or whatever, because I'm not a brand influencer. That's not what I'm here to do. Bottom line, there are some good ones. Most all the manufacturers make a gun in this entry-level price point. So just go do some due diligence, check around. There's videos on each of the ones out there, whether like it's the Ruger American or the Savage Axis, whether it be Vanguard, etc., etc. And those are just a few. There's a bunch of others out there. So just go and look into them. Now, if you want a deep dive on this subject, I did do another video on best budget hunting rifles. I'll put the link down in the description. You can go check that out. That'll give you the in-depth stuff. Question number 9. Do I need a hunter safety card to hunt with a firearm? Well, like all these other legalistic stuff that we've covered, it's going to depend on your jurisdiction. So just call up your local game department and find out what the rules are. They probably even have the rules on their website. Go check it out, perform your due diligence, and obey the law, obey the regulations, whatever they set forth. However, I will say that the vast majority of states do require hunter education before you go hunting with a firearm. And also, like, I'm just going to take off the top of my head Montana. Not only do they require hunter education, what they didn't used to for a long time, but now they do. They require a secondary class with another endorsement, if you will, on that hunter certification for bow hunting. So they split it out. And a lot of states, I think, are doing the same thing. So just make sure whatever type of hunting you're going to do, you understand what you need to do in advance for requirements, fulfill those requirements, and then and if they require you carry a hunter safety card with you or something, then carry your card. A lot of states, I know, they don't require that. They just have, you're in their database, so they can certainly check you out. The warden can figure it out very quickly if they contact you. But just do whatever your local laws say. Question number 10, our last question. And it's a good one, too. I'll tell you what, and thanks for staying with us all the way through, because you're going to want to hear this question and the answer. The question is, what's the safest way to carry a firearm in the field? Well, that makes perfect sense. There's a lot of people that don't know what is safe, the safe way and not the safe way. Frankly, the safest way is without any ammunition in the chamber of the weapon. It's that simple. But the bottom line here is, if you really want to be safe, is don't chamber the weapon until you've got an animal that you intend to shoot and you know the shot is going to be safe and legal and makeable by you with your skill set. At that point, chamber the weapon? Well, there you go. Answers to the 10 most asked questions on the internet and asked by our viewers. Hope you found this very informative. Hope you found it fun. Thank you so much for taking your valuable time and spending it with us here at the LocaCarnivore today. And never forget, always insist upon facts, and one big fact, Han shot first. Thanks for watching.